Today we'll talk about a game from Yaquinto from 1981 called Attack of the Mutants. As the cover art indicates, mutants are attacking humans, simulating like a kind of grade B science fiction with a heroic scientist and his group versus the evil mutants. The cover art is pretty awesome. And it's a album game, I've talked about a couple other Yaquinto album games. So on the back, it talks a little bit, it's a simple game, so level 1 they call it. Gives you a little bit of theme here. Attack of the Mutants is for fans of 1950s horror movies. As you know, the one where kindly old Professor Applewhite, his toothsome daughter Penny, heroic but dense love interest, and assortment of other stereotypes fight to save the world from the awful mutant thingies. A tech room filled with whirling gadgets, bubbling test tubes, arcing electricity, and cute robots. The fast and easy game that provides different board layouts and game strategies every time for 2 players. And it also can be played solitary fairly easily. For these album games, it has an insert where you can store components, store counters in here, and put rules for here, for instance. And that just, you take that out, it folds out to be the game board, as I've shown here. So that's the game board, and we'll talk about that in more detail. The other components, the rule book, and for Yaquinto, usually they have a lot of rules, and for this game, there's actually only 4 pages. Actually, it gives you another kind of reference sheet. It gives you some, plastic Holt bags to put the counters in. The thick Yaquinto counters, and actually they're pretty big size too. They're not the standard half inch. I think they're like a 5/8 of an inch wide. So zooming in a bit on the counters, these are to indicate smashed doors. The map shows a laboratory that the mutants are running into, and there's doors that can be closed. The mutants have the option of trying to smash the doors, and this is where you indicate how you indicate the doors are smashed. The humans, and actually they're friendly robots, can also set up barricades in hallways, and these are the barricades. These are the main characters in the game, and one thing neat about the game is that all of the characters, except for these robots, all the mutants have names, and all the human characters have names as well, so it makes it kind of more personal, I guess. So there's Professor Applegate, his daughter Penny Applewhite, and then a mix of characters, and they have different personalities. Some are talked about in the rules. Mark McKenzie, Percy Fitzwalter, Buck Bacaw, Joey Cabell, Otis Higgins, and Jeb Stewart, and they have different capabilities. These are Janbots, so these are the professor's robots, that usually used for janitorial duties, but he employs them to help fight the mutants. The mutants are the yellow counters, and also there's a game turn marker. And when you do combat, you take the units off the board and you do kind of an expanded area there. And to indicate where the combat's occurring in the lab, you indicate this marker. And these are the 4 leaders of the mutants. The green are the regular mutants. The red are radioactive mutants, and these mutants have a chance of exploding or due to radiation. Like some of the other album games, it doesn't come with dice. I got this one, unopened. It didn't have dice, and in the rules it says it doesn't have dice, so there's no dice. Like I said, there's some other album games that sometimes have dice, but this one doesn't. Here's the map. This is the last component. So there's 2 sections to the map. Well, 3. There's a turn record track where it can go from 10 turns to 15, depending on if you're on regular play or extended play. And then this is basically the lab. The mutants line up around the perimeter, and then in the lab are the humans and the Janbot. There's doorways that you have to open a door or smash a door open. Then you can put in barricades at different hallways and different doorways. On this side, when there's a battle, for instance, if a Janbot and a mutant were in this room, then during the combat, you would indicate that combat's occurring there, and you would put these on the mutant and human side, and then do battle. So this is kind of the battle space, and it's got the rules for battle, and it's got these awesome cartoons. And one is the humans and the robots, and the other obviously is the mutants. The character units have identifiers on them, and the identifier on the humans, for instance, there's a number, and basically that's the attack string. So when you battle a mutant, if you roll that number, in this case 4 or less, you defeat. Mutants, though, have 2 attack markers. One is an H and one is a J. The H one is the number you need to defeat a human, and the J is what you need to defeat a Janbot. The game board, the rooms have doors which can either be opened or smashed open. Here's a couple different scenarios, and then there's some optional rules depending on the scenario, but you put either randomly or on purpose. You state where the different leader, regular, or radioactive mutants go on the outside. And then the human player sets up where the humans are, where the Janbots are, and then also where barricades are. And for movement, it's pretty straightforward. Every unit, whatever it is, can only move one spot at a time. And in order to get in a room, you either have to open the door or smash the door. I mean, opening the door takes a turn, but the benefit of smashing a door is then the door stays open and you don't have to open it again. The sequence of play is the mutants smash the doors that they want to try to smash. They can open doors instead of smashing them. The mutants move, and then mutant combat phase where the mutants attack the humans. And then the humans move, the humans attack the mutants, and then there's the glow and go. Each radioactive mutant has a chance of, they say glow and go, but because it's radioactive, it can explode or dissipate on a dice roll. So you do that for each of the radioactive ones. And then you update the turn. So that's pretty much how it goes. Combat, mutants attacking the humans or the humans doing the mutants. You set them up on this battle space. You indicate, what room you're taking them from. You roll the dice until the battle is resolved and one side is either totally gone or both sides are gone. You do each turn until a battle is totally resolved in space. And then you can also have reserve units. They would only come in if your side gets kind of dissipated. The victory conditions then are a human player wins a decisive victory if he has at least one human tech and 3 human guards in the tech room at the game's end. The professor is trying to buy time so that he can solve this crisis. Like what they say is he's trying to, teleport, but he's basically trying to buy time. Marginal human victory if there's at least 2 humans in the tech room. Decisive mutants if he has at least 1 mutant, leader, and 3 other mutants in the tech room. Marginal is if at least 2 mutants are of any type in the tech room, and a draw is if those conditions aren't met. Then optional rules. You can balance the play by adjusting the attack factors by reducing the mutants by 1, for instance. Also options of humans have different time increments before they can retreat. And you can do hidden movement by having your humans or the mutants, their counters upside down so they don't know who's moving around. And then there's this game card which allows you to kind of plan. That's just a replication of the lab. And it gives you another scenario that, it's similar, but you randomize where the mutants are along the perimeter. I'm setting up the standard scenario here. So the players decide on who is the mutants and who is the human, although you can also do it solitaire as well. First of all, the humans, the 2 tech units should be in the tech room. And the 2 tech units have the combat roll of 4, and that's Professor Applewhite, and as the theme says, his toothsome daughter, Penny Applewhite, whatever that means. They're in the tech room, and then all the other humans can be set up in any of the other rooms except the tech room. For setting up the humans, I set them up to kind of make like a last stand around the tech room, so you see I kind of put them all around that area. And then the Janbots, they set up kind of symmetrically. So basically I put the Janbots in all of the rooms where the mutants will be entering first. The thought being that I'll use the Janbots and see if how many of mutants I can knock down before they get to the humans here, more in the center. Although, they might move around a little bit too. So then the humans set up the barricades, and in the standard game there's 12 barricades. And the rule for setting the barricade is that you can't put them on the doors where the mutants first enter, so along the periphery here you can't set up the barricades. But other than that, you can set them up anywhere, except you cannot have 3 barricades adjacent to each other. I set them up for 2 adjacent, and I kind of did them symmetrically, kind of around the center here. I'm just trying to set up the barricades as much as I can around the rooms outside the tech room. And also, I would add too that you can't set up the barricades so that they're at the doors entering the tech room directly. That's why I set them, one room off and then kind of blocking the other paths. So it's kind of symmetric. As far as the setup then for the mutants, there has to be 1 mutant leader per side. So those are the black units. And it can be anywhere on a side, but so here. And again, I did these symmetrically as well. And there has to be at least 1 mutant per, entry area. So these kind of rectangles for each of these rectangles. And you can have any mix of mutants and radioactive. So I tried to be symmetrical. So what I did was wherever there was a radioactive one, I tried to put a regular one with them, since the radioactive ones might kind of self-destroy. So I did that where I could, and then I tried to have 2 in each spot. There's not quite enough to have 2 in each one, so that's the setup, and then setting the game turn marker to 1. So then we'll play through this. So we're about halfway through it now. We're on game turn 4 out of 10. So I thought I'd talk about where we're at here and how it's looking. Initially, the mutants came through and broke down, doors to get in. About half the doors were knocked down, and I'll show how that works. But once they're knocked down, they're not going backward. To use them in other spots, I took the markers and moved them in other spots. The mutants are moving in. A lot of the radioactive ones have glowed and goed, as I say. So there's not a lot of those left after a few turns. They lost one of their leaders. And basically several of the Janbots, these are the units that have been lost here. But many of the Janbots have been lost as they fought off the mutants. There's a few left, but basically all of the humans and robots, Janbots, are gathering around the center here to kind of fight off the mutants as they come in. So let me do an example turn here. First of all, they have the option of opening and smashing doors. To open doors, if you have the mutant on one side of the door, it can just open it for the other one. That's not the case here, though. So, for instance, this mutant wants to enter this room, so he'll try to smash this door. And over on the table here, I'll show it a bit. It shows you it's actually right here. The number of mutants you have trying to smash the door helps your odds of smashing it. So if you have 1, you need a 1 to smash it. If you have 3 or more, you need a 4 or less to smash it. And I'm using, Yaquinto dice, even though they didn't come in this game. There's 1 mutant trying to smash the door, so he'll try that. And he's unsuccessful. This one will too. He's unsuccessful. Actually, this one will try to smash the door too. So in this one, there were 2 mutants, and they needed 3 or less, so he was successful, actually, in doing that. He's going to go over to this room to join that guy. This one's going to move since that door's open. He'll move up here, join this group. Then these will come in and join this group. So that's that phase. So the human then moves. They're mainly grouping there. The humans don't have to smash doors, they have to open them. So this group is going to go out here, face these. First of all, you take the combat marker location and you place it where the combat's going to be. So that's here. And then we move over to here to the combat space. So you set up your human units, you know, they're Janbots, but they're in the human group, and then your mutant units, and you pair them off, and you do the battles until one side has completely lost, or they're lost on both sides. So you do one at a time. And since it's the human turn, they're going first. Successful. The J is what the J score is. The H is for the human. So he needs 2 or less. So they're both removed. This Janbot needs a 3 or less. This one needs a 2 or less. Successful. Not successful. So he's removed, and that combat is completed because one side is completely eliminated. It has a table for smashing doors, you know, what the die roll is based on the number of mutants trying to do it. And then it shows the sequence of play, you know, facing both the human and the mutant. And it shows for glow and go that for each radioactive, if you roll exactly a 6, it is dissipated. So then those units that were successful then, we'll take off the combat marker and put them back there. So now the mutants have gone, the humans have gone, and now we do what's called the glow and go phase. We look at each of the radioactive ones and see if they explode. Nope, because if you get a 6, they explode. 6, this one dissipates. So it's removed from the board. And you see there's not a whole lot of them left because a lot have dissipated before. Nope, nope, those are fine. Nope. That's the glow and go. That's the completion of that turn, and then we move it up. It's a very simple game, but there's a lot of replayability because you can set it up in different ways. It's obviously very heavy in theme, and that's the big positive of it. I like that except the Janbots, each of the characters, even the mutants, have names. You know, you can have fun with that. You know, get into the personalities of the different characters. Well, early on when the mutants came through, there was a lot of carnage, there was a lot of battles around the perimeter, and then the battles kind of decrease as you are kind of moving in, and it gets a little more tactical. I mean, I like how they do it combat. It's pretty straightforward. It's interesting how the radioactive units, they have a good chance. They have a chance of destroying. So it seems like you want to try to combat with them first, so that they don't die before you get to the end phase. Plays solo as well, but I think it's probably more fun with 2 people because you have the different kind of personalities going on. You just kind of playing through a grade B science fiction movie. It's very well done with the art, and I'm glad the play is simple because then it doesn't take away from kind of the lighthearted nature. Since it's kind of a simple game, I think I'll stick with a 7.